welcome to Community Quotes, a familiar face from AOC.
Yeah.
Go ahead and say your name, including your nickname, and spell it out for us.
All right. Joe Rice Ferguson. Joe, Joe Ferguson. And then Boozy is my nickname. That's Boosie. A lot of people think it's Bootsy or Boozy with a Z. But
right. So tell us how you got that nickname. Where did that originate from?
All right. Well, that was from, so my mom, ever since I was a baby, I was never called my name. It was always Boo or Boozy or Bug. And I think it derived from the Peanuts comic strip in the newspaper, you know, Charles Schultz. I think Linus, or Lucy called Linus her sweet baboo. And then after that, it was like Boo Boo, and then it went to Boozy, and then Bug, and so mainly Boozy. But
and it stuck.
Yeah, it seemed to stick. I mean, I never went by Joe my whole life.
Right.
I mean, my dad, whenever he'd get mad or something, he'd be like, Joe! And then you knew you did something bad, you know?
Yeah.
But other than that, yeah, it was always Boozy.
Yeah, I think all of our members know you as Boozy.
Yeah,
yeah.
It's funny because I'll introduce myself as Joe, you know, and then
like,
eventually they'll just like,
yeah.
they'll hear people talking to me that know me, you know, and then they'll just curve it to Boozy.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, whoa, who's Boozy?
So let's talk about that time when you were a lot younger. Where did you grow up, and tell me about family life back then.
All right, well, I grew up or was born in Colorado in a town called Greeley. It's about like an hour north of Denver. I mean, people I guess know Greeley for the way that it smells. It smells like a cow packing plant, or like, I mean, it's downwind of all those cow packing plants, so you smell cow crap all the time, and it's, I mean, always downwind. Or if you like get a different wind, you smell all the farms, just because it's very farm centric kind of atmosphere. So you'd smell onions at one day, and then you'd smell like
cow manure
the other day.
Great.
Yeah. And the elementary school I went to was Montfort Elementary. So Montfort was the packing plant. So they were like proud of the fact that they had cow lots and did that whole thing. So I don't know. It seems like the only thing that town really had to offer for itself. But I mean, it's grown so much since I've been there. I left when I was 12 or 13.
Okay.
And yeah, I've been.
So you've been back since you were a kid?
Well, a couple times, but
yeah.
I mean, the last time I think I've been there was 5-6 years ago, where I think it was my brother's wedding that we went to Denver, and that wasn't even really to like go see where we used to live or anything.
Right. So you still have family that live in that area?
Not anymore. I think Patrick, my older brother, or he's a half brother, but brother, he lived in Denver for the longest time after we left, or lived in Colorado and then moved to Denver. But then he got a job in Kansas, and then I think Wyoming, and that's where he's at now.
Okay. So how many siblings do you have?
Okay, so I got, as far as immediate family, I have a younger brother, younger sister, and then me under my dad, and then a half older brother who's Patrick, which it was from another marriage my mom had. Yeah. But he's always lived with us ever since I was little, so he's never been separated from us or anything. So
awesome. So you said whenever you guys were 12 or you were 13, then they moved.
Well, we moved. I think, okay, so yeah, that's a crazy story. So you were asking for the crazy story, and I think this is sort of it. But, or yeah, around 12, a little bit before 12, I think it was right after I turned 12, we were already in transit to Central America, because my parents wanted to do some missionary work in the jungles over there in Central America. I mean, they had some towns that were rural and had a lot of need for some medical care, and a lot of the hospitals were kind of run down and sort of depleted with services and stuff like that. And my dad's a doctor, and my mom was a nurse midwife, so they got together with River of Life Ministries, which is from Ohio, I think. Sorry if that's wrong, I don't remember. It's been so long. But they got a whole bunch of money pooled up and worked with the military to get the C-170 jet to load all this obsolete medical equipment that had just been shifted out of hospitals, because, I mean, hospitals, even if the equipment's still good, they replace it just because standards always are going up and keep topping each other. And so he had all this free equipment that was donated to him to just be able to simply diagnose people or do small surgeries and sterilize things. And so he got his Forerunner. He had gotten a Forerunner that was wrecked in Colorado, got it all fixed up, to make it into like a makeshift ambulance. And so he put like Belizean stickers on the side that looked like their colors and made like a cross ambulance and all this stuff.
Okay.
And then he had all that stuff in medicine that he, like sample medications that he sent in this huge shipment along with other stuff that this church was putting together to try to get. So the end goal, I guess, was they had this all shipped to Belize City. We went and picked it all up and brought it to this ministry, I guess, out in, it was in the middle of the jungle next to YWAM, which was a Youth with a Mission. They had their own little compound in the jungle. And then about a mile down the dirt road, they had it was River of Life Ministries. And so, yeah, they outfit this Benz truck, this old, it was like an 80s Benz truck that had some engine problems, but they had a mechanic that was part of the team that came down and worked on the truck, made it work. And then they outfitted the whole back end of the truck with a two-roomed, I guess, diagnosis, or just a small little half makeshift clinic that's in the back of this truck.
A mobile unit.
Yeah, basically, yeah. And the idea was so that they could go in the middle of a place where no one else could really get to with equipment and deliver at least some basic medical care and some basic dentistry stuff. And but that was more later on.
Okay.
So yeah, around 12 or 13, that's where I spent a good 8 or 9 months. And then after that, my grandma ended up getting some lung cancer, and so we ended up coming up to here. And this is where she was from, is Lafayette.
Okay.
And then all my family, I guess, on my dad's side, is all from Louisiana and from this area.
Okay.
So he was born here in Lafayette, and then met my mom over in the west side of the United States, and then got married over there.
Okay.
But yeah, so then about 13, 14, I moved over here, and so from then on, I've been here.
Yeah.
Kind of a weird process.
So tell me about this. Let's go back to Belize and that experience, because being a missionary, I think that's definitely an eye-opening experience.
Oh, yeah.
What do you think you learned from that and from helping people?
Sure. Oh, I learned a lot, both about myself and just about the world around me, and how big it was, you know, and how humbling it is to see what people are happy with nothing, you know, and like, or even in their worst state, it seems like they're in their worst state, but they're still just super happy and feel blessed, you know, and they're just grateful for everything. And I mean, for people that have to go and, you know, get their dinner off the road by killing a chicken they see on the road or something, I mean, it's a very, I don't know. I mean, there's a lot of, I don't know, stuff that you can get from the jungle to survive. I mean, you could, if you knew how to like live in a urban environment like that, or not urban, but you know, desolate area, just full of jungle. I mean, you could figure out how to survive, but I mean, when you have a family and you're trying to support them and everything, and especially in that atmosphere, in that government that they had over there, which was kind of crazy and sort of loose and sort of free game. Yeah, it just shows you what's important and what things that you really need to be worried about and what actually matters in life. And yeah, it's just a very humbling experience. I think for the most part, it was just seeing how much we had, and whenever we had to leave Colorado, we basically had to just leave our whole house, you know, leave everything, all our belongings, everything, and that was hard for me because, I mean, mainly it was leaving my friends and stuff like that.
Sure.
And becoming more used to the fact that I had no say in it. You know, it was just my parents being, you know, you could cry as much as you want to, buddy, but we're going. It's not.
And I would presume that as a young, you know, teenager or preteen, that not having the electronics would be a bothersome thing. You know, going to a country that's a more third world and.
Sure. Well, I guess we kind of. Well, I mean, luckily it was before the time of like phones and iPads and all that stuff. So, but we did have a computer, so we did bring our old Macintosh computer, which wasn't the best computer at the time, but I mean, it did what we needed to.
Sure.
I had saved files on it, and I could mess around, and they luckily had internet over there, so it was
that's good.
Belize Telecommunications.
Yeah. Do you feel like your family made a big difference there to the people of that community?
As far as locally, yeah. Well, the only reason I say yeah so much is just because I mean, you'd hear their name pop up in different situations where they weren't even there. You know, like, oh, did you hear about Dr. Joe and Jen? Or, you know, they always make a joke about, oh, Dr. Joe, telephone. You know, she would always be getting calls, you know, to go out and doing things in the jungle. And they'd have an interval kind of a process where they'd go out on regular scheduled things. But yeah, it was he gained some popularity in a good way.
Sure.
Over there, and so did my mom. I mean, the whole ministry did. I mean, not just my dad by himself, because
after that experience, have you thought about doing anything similar to it, or are you involved with any nonprofits now, or have been in the past?
No, I'm not involved with too many extracurricular nonprofits, other than the one that I'm working for. But no, I haven't done too much. I think I've wanted to go back to Belize just to sort of see in contrast how much it's changed or not changed since then.
It sounds like a great documentary to have on AOC.
Oh yeah, man, that would be. I just wish I had a B-roll for all that time I was there.
Yeah.
But I'd love to go back and mainly just see if like the same ministry is still there, if it's named the same thing, or if it's evolved, or someone has changed or gotten that place and replaced it, or even if just the surroundings are the same, or what's grown and what's been developed since then. Same with like Greeley. If I went ever back to that town, I'd like to sort of see how different it is, how much I still feel like it's originally home, you know, or not. But yeah, I don't know. Sorry, I got off point there.
That's okay. That's no problem. Well, I know you as a graphic designer, and you're also a production assistant, workshop instructor. You wear many hats here at AOC. How long have you been with AOC, by the way?
It's been around 10 years, since April, about 10 years, yeah. It's been a while.
But going back to your childhood, what did you want to be versus what you're doing now?
Well, so actually it's sort of half-half. I'm actually doing what I really wanted to do, you know. I mean, I was using my old JVC miniature VHS cam to create stop motions when I was like 8 to 10 years old. So it was, me and my best friend would just use all kinds of stuff just to mess around with sequenced imagery. I mean, I had no idea what I was really creating, or the real fundamentals of animation or anything like that. But I knew that animation and / drawing, illustration, or just being creative in any way. I like to build stuff and take stuff apart, so and I sort of merged that with some other stuff. So I mean, as long as I have my hands doing something and being creative with them, that was in any facet. As I got older, I was going to be happy doing it. But I knew that animation, for the most part, was really a big, because I saw everything in sequence. You know, I see everything as a matter of pace and over time and distance, and so
So you look at the big picture.
Yeah, I mean, and sometimes you can sort of see, and going through art school really changed my vision on stuff too. Like it made me see, I remember at one point, I told Natalie this the other day, I was like, man, I missed that couple of weeks of time where like I had learned so much about just seeing things in color and like shape. And instead of seeing like you or the cameras or the lights, I'd be seeing all these like either high intensity brights or, you know, dark shadow shapes, not necessarily objects or anything. And that was a cool time, because that really opened my eyes to a whole different visual of what things could be, and then how to translate that to another medium if you wanted to. So, and then being able to distinguish the two back and forth. Yeah, after that, it sort of went back to normal. But then I had that realization that, you know, everything's just bunches of color and shapes put together, you know.
I think you're a wonderful graphic designer.
Oh, thank you.
Who were some of the people that inspired you? Are there any artists out there that you thought, wow, I want to be like that person, or not necessarily be like them, but you're influenced by their art? Whether it's in an electronic form or you know, painters from the past.
I think I don't know. I sort of just take everything in as, I don't have one particular artist that I like going to, but I do like just sort of taking everything in. So like everything is almost an artist, and then I'm just sort of receiving it and then sort of interpreting it in my own kind of way. Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of old school painters, you know, that have a lot of influence on, you know, on just the way I see how you can interpret, you know, being abstract or impressionist, and using different styles to create your own reality. But I don't know. As far as like a regular or a couple of artists that I really point out, I don't know if I have one favorite. I think there's just a whole bunch that, and I mainly go through a lot of like Art News and Juxtapose and all those different magazines, and I'll really just saturate that way. And mainly it's just flipping through and just picking up on the visual on it, and I won't even really give credit to the artist as much. I'll just be soaking up what they're doing and how they're doing it and try to figure out how they executed their art. And so I sort of take everything in. I don't favor one over the other. I really just take it all in. And sometimes it's oversaturating, and that can sort of be intimidating, because then I'll just feel like it's like, where do I even start, you know?
Sure.
Where do I even go with it? But I mean,
well, and now with technology, there's so many different options to create art.
Oh, sure, yeah, especially the computer. I mean, a computer is a great tool, but as much as people are using technology to be creative with digital art, I still think that analog art, or going back to doing it with your hands, doing it with paints, you cannot mimic reality with digital tools. I mean, you can get super close. I mean, it's getting better and better, and I mean, VR is coming in, and you're able to do it in 3D space and stuff like that, which, I mean, really makes it a whole new level of art, which I don't say is better or worse. I'm just saying, like, having your hands on it where you can feel the textures, you can feel how it's applying, and you get the pressure and the resistances, and
well, and it's not so perfect either. And
right,
that's a good
and that
thing.
human element touching it, exactly. Yes. Oh, that's the way to go, in my opinion. I mean, then you can even take digital and go back to analog, and like meshing the two is ideal for me. So.
Was AOC the first job that you've ever had working here, or you've worked somewhere else?
I've worked a couple different places.
Okay.
So
What
I
was
think
your
my
first job?
first job was a hand wash dishwasher at a diner, and it was the Village Table Diner and Restaurant over in Carroll Valley, Pennsylvania. So that was technically my first job. I'd had, like, you know, other jobs I did with my cousin, with a friend of my dad's and stuff like that, but it wasn't technical. I didn't apply for it, or, you know, it was just sort of a helpful job. But yeah, so I did the dishwashing job for like a year, and then I came to Louisiana, actually, because I went to school, so I started going to school, and then went to, I had worked at Gap in the mall for a little while doing retail, and that did not last long, because I'm not a person that can work in that environment, that's for sure. I just didn't have the patience or the ability to deal with people in that facet, you know. Sort of sounds, but Gap's a great place.
Yeah.
It's just not for me.
And it seems odd of an answer, because I think of you as such a people person. You're very friendly.
Well, I mean, interacting with people, I was all right, but as far as sales, like trying to pressure people into buying things, it's just not my cup of tea.
Okay.
Yeah, and then after the Gap, I ended up coming to. There'd be some other various side jobs that I did, like working for a wheelchair ramp company for a while, building ramps, and then after that I went to, I worked at the Frame Shop Gallery 912, which is on Coolidge right there, with one of my really good friends, Jeremy Young, who still runs it, and this guy Robert, who had owned the shop before, he's since died, but he was a super awesome guy, had a real good connection with the community and all the different artists that were around there. And yeah, so just working with art coming in and framing it and trying to take care of it and put, you know, preservation materials into the framework, and just to keep it so it doesn't, you know, deteriorate over time, and just how you care for it, you know, that sort of brought me into, and it was while I was going to school, so like it was working with art educationally, and then going into like handling artwork too. But yeah, so that once I was in school, and then dealing with art on a daily basis at the Frame Shop, that really opened my eyes to seeing how I could, you know, sort of blossom myself and start developing my own art, my own styles. But then I started off in animation with Yan Choi, so it was 3D animation. So I was doing a little bit of that, and that was fun for a while. But then I ended up getting burnt out on that, and started realizing that, you know, I mean, animation, you're not creating all the elements by yourself. You're eventually going to be in a team where they divide, you know, animating, the sequencing, and you know, dividing out the texturizing of the object, creating the objects by themselves, And so once I realized that, I was like, oh, I'm not going to do all these things together by myself, if there was a job out there.
Right.
So I ended up moving into media art, cinematic arts with David Weber, who's since left, but he was such an inspiration.
Okay.
But he just showed me the how sequenced visuals, whether it be performance pieces or if it's installation art or just anything with sequence to it. So it sort of, that instantly meshed with my wanting to animate, and so I saw, and then once he opened my eyes to how all video basically is just an animation, so like a high frame rate animation, just a sequence of images really stacked together in a big old pile. And so I was like, oh man, so everything at its root in a digital form, in a video form, is all animation. So he opened my eyes to sort of see how shots, what they can mean, the theory of shot, and sort of just like feeling it rather than learning the actual like the people that developed it and the things like that, and the people that actually established the theories and things like that. So it was less about the educational part of it, but more about the mental processing side of it and the metaphors you can have with visual and the context you can create with just sequencing different shots together. And so that really sort of brought me into that side of it. And see, the problem with like school, I'm not trying to take too long in this answer, sorry. But yeah, last thing with this. It's just, so yeah, I didn't like staying in one particular department for too long at school. So I always wanted to. I took extra classes, took summer classes, and tried to like soak up sculpture and printmaking and all these different avenues of what Fletcher had to offer back then. They have so much more that they offer now. But yeah, trying to tie all that into my media art and creating all those different things. And so.
Gotcha.
And then that's how I ended up creating my senior thesis was on dreams and all the different avenues of dreams. And I still haven't finished that series. I only have like the first couple done. The first one that I made was my senior thesis, and I've done the second one, but I was always waiting to learn new tools and elaborate my style so I could try to make it a little bit more, realize the potential of the idea a little bit more.
Gotcha. Well, I know that it sounds like you've had a variety of jobs and some great schoolwork to back it up. What to date is your favorite memory of working here at AOC, or your favorite project that you've worked on?
Oh man, favorite moment. I don't know.
Something that just comes to mind whenever you think about AOC from the past. There's got to be something good in there, or maybe there's a lot of good things that it's hard to pick just one.
Yeah, there's several good things. I think there was one really that stood out was whenever Samuel, he used to work here. He's over in Austin now working for Apple, but it was so funny. We got so those little paint suits you put on, they're like paper paint suits, and they're just like all white. Each of him and I, it was for a promo we were doing for just general stuff at AOC. We didn't end up making too many in the series of promo with that idea, just because I don't think it really panned out too much after that. But such a good and funny idea, because we would capture ourselves carrying this, and so he would be in the front. It was like we were loading something, like one guy's this way and the other guy, but it was just with this piece of cardboard that was widescreen, exactly the shape of like 16:9 aspect ratio, or like 1280/720, some random resolution, but it had just green in it. So it was like a green screen board that we would bring around, and we would walk up and down downtown, and people would record us from different angles. And so we were gonna have like AOC TV being mapped onto this, like just different programs people do here, from different producers, and just have him and I holding this thing and walking and like trying, like going around people and like, oh, excuse me, like, oh, and just trying to be funny about it, but also like, watch AOC, kind of thing. And we did one of those, but then ended up we started on another project or something, and then ended up get caught up. But
so it never aired, or it?
Maybe one aired, I think.
Wow.
But that was
we need to
so
dig
long
that
ago.
up.
Yeah, if Will still has that, I'm sure he does. But man,
We'll find
that'd be a gem. And there's a lot of stuff that got lost in the transition. I think it was just the way we backed up back then. It was all still tape going to digital kind of thing, and so it was on the very beginning, era of storing digital media on hard drives, and I think we lost drives because they failed and stuff like that, and people moving away and whatnot. So.
Do you have any ambition to do your own show here at AOC, whether it's a podcast or a show, television-wise?
Man, I've had so many ideas, and you guys laugh at me because I have all these ideas and they don't.
I've never laughed at you.
No. I deserve it. You know, like
Maybe skipped it.
No. I didn't mean it that way. I was just saying, but you guys should laugh at me because I haven't done them yet. But there's a couple ideas on my top of my head that I'd love to do. I think one of them would. It's sort of the opposite of art walk, but it's called art sit, and that's the most horrible name for it in my mind right now. But that's the only thing I have it titled by, just to put the description underneath it. But yeah, basically just instead of having people go out into the community and see the art in all the galleries, which is excellent. That's the way to experience art. Go in person, definitely. But for the people that don't necessarily want to go downtown or outside or have to go somewhere to see art in sequence, so this would give them the ability to. Well, so the idea is for about a half hour, I would feature 2 artists per show, and so I would go. Basically do a small bio of any local artist, and then have them maybe do 3 or 4 up to 5 different pieces of artwork that they'd briefly explain how their process or what they did. And so that would sort of be like an art walk for people that didn't want to go and
I think that's a great idea
walk.
From the artist's perspective and what
what they actually meant
to do it. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So that I think it's still in the wanting to be developed. I know Ed was interested in me pursuing it for a while. Another couple ideas is I have a ton of promo ideas. I write storyboards all day for all the different promos I have, but it's like just executing them, getting them shot, and the amount of time it takes to really devote to it. Yeah. With other work that I'm doing, it really kind of backs me up a little bit. But
gotcha.
And then it takes a couple different staff to help me out doing it. So and they're always busy doing stuff too.
Right.
So eventually, I want to get them planned out.
Okay.
I think the other one though that was. I kind of wanted to do. I love doing parodies. I love like sort of mimicking things and doing it my own way in a sort of goofy fashion. There's a lot of like KFC type commercial, Geico commercial type of just, not necessarily the Colonel kind of action or anything, but just the quick, witty, come here, save, you have all these pieces of equipment at your disposal here at AOC, why not use it, and just like slap them into understanding it kind of thing. So it's just more like in your face, very fast. Yeah. Just what was that? And then AOC logo, bam, kind of action, So some more of those, I think. But I've created so much weird stuff, weird visual. And yeah, you've been part of a couple promos.
I've seen some, yeah.
They're a little interesting, I guess.
And I love looking back on our YouTube channel and seeing the old ones. I think they're really good too.
Yeah, man, I need to get on creating some more.
Yeah. Let's switch gears a little bit away from work. I've met your wife, Natalie, before. She is a lovely young lady. Tell me how you met her and how you proposed to her.
Oh, goodness, that's a story. All right. I messed up my proposal to sort of pre-enter the situation.
Well, she married you, so it had to end up
I don't know why.
At some point.
Gracious. No. All right, so I met her. Actually, that's a cool situation. So while I was going to school here in Lafayette, I was living with my best friend, Marty, who was in a townhouse apartment kind of by Old Colony Road that goes and connects to Westgate from Ambassador. Yeah, I'd been living there. We called it the Marty Party because we had like a group of 7 or 8 dudes that would all just like almost every day after class or after work, we'd all just go there and hang out, drink beers, and just hang out for the night. Yeah. None of us really had girlfriends, but we were just playing video games or whatever, just hanging out, sort of decompressing from the day. And next door in the townhouse next to him was this girl Jessica, which was Natalie's sister. And she had this place for a while. She was living there. There was this, I guess, a Spanish family that had lived in there and then had moved out right after we started hanging out at that with Marty. And then she had moved in, but we didn't really know her. But she had been coming and hanging out with Marty just because they were next door and lived with each other whenever. Yeah. And so one day she had come over and she was like, "Oh, I have my sister on the phone. You want to talk to her?" I guess we were talking about, you know, girls and girlfriends and boyfriends and all that stuff. I don't know, it's being weird. I can't even remember the situation. But so yeah, I went over there and she's like, "Oh, here's Natalie. Talk to her." And I was like, "Okay." So I picked up the phone. I was like, "Hello," you know. She's like, "Oh, hey, how's it going?" And then I was just like sort of like weirdly chatting for a while, and then ended up like having a decent conversation just about general stuff, and just like, "Oh, okay, yeah, well, you want to call me later or whatever?" And so like, yeah. And seeing
and
a
at
couple
this point, you had not met her. You didn't
Never
know
met
what she
her.
looked like.
Well, I kind of knew what she looked like because you know, pictures on
Okay.
Jessica's fridge of her sisters and stuff like that. So I was like,
Okay.
"Oh, she's pretty cute."
Yeah.
You know? I like, yeah. And so her whole family's beautiful though.
Yeah,
I mean, they're
yeah.
just awesome. So yeah, after that we just started talking to each other, and on the phone we, you know, the normal couple hour long calls at night.
Right.
And then eventually started hanging out. She'd come hang out with us. I'd go hang out with her, and then so yeah, we had been dating, I guess, for a while, and then we got engaged. So the engagement was a little over a year. But yeah, we'd been dating like 6-7 years before we got engaged. So it was a long time.
Okay.
And I know she was just like, she was so patient with me too. She really, man, she's the greatest. She really is. But yeah, I was just like, man, I just want to make sure and all this, you know, the same old jargon men say, whatever, about getting married. And just want to make sure, because I'd seen so many couples that didn't spend enough time with each other, you know, just split.
You didn't want to be that.
Yeah,
How
and
long
I'm learning
have you
from
two
other
been
people's
married?
mistakes.
How long have you two been married?
Since 2013, so about 5 years. Yeah. 5, wow.
Wow,
yeah,
so you made
awesome.
it to 5.
I know.
Congratulations.
Doesn't seem that
Hopefully
long either. Well,
many more anniversaries ahead.
As long as she wants to do with me.
You're good.
I'm happy, man.
Okay, I'm going to ask you a fun question now. What is your favorite decade and why?
Ooh, favorite decade. Do I have to have been alive for it?
No.
Oh, okay.
It could be any. It could be
decade?
the Roaring 20s. It could be the groovy 60s, whatever. And it could be, for me, I have favorite decades of different genres for music, fashion, movies. So, you know, you think back about time periods and how that falls.
What about centuries?
Yeah.
Can we go back that far?
Yeah, we can go back as far as you want.
Yeah, like the Egyptian dynasty and all those days, you know, the whole empires they had back in the day. I want to go, that's my favorite time just because it's so unsure. Like there's these, you know, monolithic monuments that are still there that are sort of torn over time, but are, you know, still being dug up, and they're just finding all these cool artifacts and relics from that time, and getting theorists to say one thing, but then, you know, oh, it could be this thing. So it's really just awesome to see what the potential of that area could be, and where that started. You know, people really don't even really know how Egypt developed, you know, and how that place was run back in its prime. You know, there's real good theories and really good estimations out there that make sense, and like how the pyramids were built and stuff like that. But I mean, I would love to go to that would be my favorite, I guess, time in
history.
Yeah, I don't know if that's, I don't know, but if I had to pick the 1900s, the 1800s, I would. I know the Civil War was probably a really interesting time, just because it was like America fighting America, you know.
It was.
Yeah,
North and South.
Crazy, and just how passionate they were to.
So you'd like to go back and just kind of witness that experience.
More witness, not be in it necessarily,
right.
but yeah, like witness it on the sidelines and just sort of see what people felt and how they were perceiving things, and why they were so gung ho, and you know, going up a little bit in time too. Like the 40s and 50s, I think that's such an interesting time because it was post-war. Everything was so like, come here, buddy, you know, like we're family. Like no one really hated each other. I mean, they did have, you know, bad crap going on as far as, you know, civil wars and what's
I think that was a
going
cool
on,
time for movies and for attire. I think, you know, the James Dean look and.
And getting some, just the roundness of cars and the future retro futurism that they were sort
the
of
classic cars like a Bel Air, you know, 55 Bel Air just has that
nice lines, you know. I mean, everything had it was shifting from that other mindset to a more
Mm-hmm.
refined mindset, you know.
And you had some great television shows, you know, I Love
Yeah.
Lucy or The Honeymooners, that
Oh,
kind
right.
of thing.
Yeah. See, man, those were
Elvis.
see, some of the good shows back then.
That's
for
right.
sure.
That's right. Okay, another question. Do you have any fears or phobias?
Let's see. Fears.
Anything that scares Boozy?
Sounds funny. Boozy. You afraid, Boozy? What am I afraid of? I guess, I mean, this stuff, I'm not really afraid of too much. I guess the normal stuff, like if you fall from heights. I'm not scared of heights, but, you know, falling from them definitely is a fear. Or I think dying fast. If I were to die like instantly, that's what I'm afraid of. Like I would more
You want to die slowly?
well, enough to know that I'm dying and that I could pray to God and like close my deal before, you know, before I have no option to do that, you know. Just because I don't know, with doing that, it's just I would have to work it off that much more because of what I believe in, or whatever. But no, I don't know. That's just a weird way to say what I'm afraid of. I guess everyone's afraid of dying, but no, I don't think I'm afraid of too much.
Okay.
Getting sick, I hate getting sick, so I'm always like OCD about wiping my
Germs.
fingers and all that stuff whenever everyone else is sick, you know.
Sure.
But
All right. Well, just a few more questions.
Sure.
You have a very positive spirit. I don't think I've ever seen you in a bad mood, which is a great thing.
Thanks.
What would you say is an influence in your life as far as having that positive mindset and being so positive and, you know, because I feel like that energy is contagious.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Yeah. Well, I appreciate that for one. I don't know. I think it's because I know like how, you know, you just kind of treat people the way you want to be treated, you know, like everyone's equal. There's no one person that's better than anybody else, you know, even if they might have some more smarts than you or have some more technical skill than you, you know, that we're all people, you know, we shouldn't treat each other more or lesser than anybody else. And I'm a heavy believer in God, you know, so I definitely want people to see that, and sometimes I really don't feel like I'm doing a good job of, you know, being in that example, but I think that you can emanate God, you know, or emanate your belief system through what you do on a day-to-day basis. So you can walk the walk, but you could talk the talk, but you need to walk the walk too. It's always a quote my mom said, and I always looked up to that. And I have to thank my mom and my dad too for all the you know, everything they did for me growing up. They're just, I mean, the best parents in the world, and I know everyone says that, and but I mean, they put themselves in crazy situations to get us to realize that it's a life worth living, and that we should be happy for what we have and be thankful for everything on a daily basis, you know. And you know, that's why I feel it humbles people, or humbles me, to have that realization every day. And I think I've been blessed with a gift to every morning, you know. I'm always thinking about how I'm coming across to people and what my words are saying and how they're inflicting on other people and what damage they might do or not do, or even just the absence of saying something, you know, that can do damage too. So it can be a mental mind F, you know what I mean? Yeah. But it's more helpful than it's a stress. And I'm super thankful that I have that ability to sort of think that way. Sometimes I really don't think I do a good job, and that I always ask for more guidance and going the right direction and stuff like that. But yeah, I think that's mainly my drive for trying to be who I am, because I want, and the main thing I think is that I want to, since I believe we'll all go to heaven, or not all go to heaven, but we'll be in front of Him or God. Not necessarily Him, it's an it, I guess, because it's an entity, but that we'll have to answer for everything that we've done, you know, or said, and you know, we'll go through each of these things that we've done in our life and have to explain why we did them. And so that sort of keeps me like, going on a straighter track, I guess. Gotcha. But that's sort of like a subcontext to the whole effort. I don't know. But man, I want to go back to like answering the proposal thing. I didn't answer that full question.
Let's
I'm
go
sorry.
back to that.
No, yeah, the actual proposal, I'll be really quick about it.
Okay.
But it was, so we were up in Pennsylvania. Sorry to jump back. It's just, I feel like it's unconnected there. I need to finish that thought.
We have to make your wife very happy.
Yeah, I
'cause
want her
she's
to
gonna
read.
watch
Yeah,
this,
she's definitely
right?
going to watch this. Sorry, Natalie. But yeah, so her favorite candy is Ferrero Rocher. You know those
Oh,
like
yeah.
rounds,
Love those.
and they're covered with the nuts on them, and in a little ball of foil.
Yep.
So what I had done, we'd gone out to dinner with my whole family out at this country cottage thing, and then while I was out there, or before going to the dinner, I had pre-prepped one of these chocolates. I had like split it in half, took out the inner side,
And you put the ring inside.
and I put the ring inside of it, and then rewrapped the candy.
Okay.
But I had the one that I had taken the half out in my right pocket, and the one with the ring in my left pocket. And so we went to dinner, and I'd left that one on the nightstand, the one with the ring in it. Because, I mean, I'd wrapped it perfect, man. Like, it looked, I was like, oh, this one was the ring. Because I felt the weight, and it felt lighter, so I figured that one, but I guess the ring was the heavier one. And then, so we went to dinner. Long story short, I was like, okay, after dinner, oh, look, I have this candy that you love in my pocket. She's like, oh, okay. You didn't get anybody else a candy? Yeah. And she was just like, okay. And she ate it. It was the whole candy. And I was like, oh, God. And I looked over at my mom, and she knew what I was trying to do. And she was just like, chill out. And I was just like, oh, my God, how did I mess this up? And you can just see my face was red. Everyone was just like, what is going on? Like, and there was like a matter of 10 people.
Did your family know that you were going to propose?
I don't think all of them knew. I think just my mom
knew.
My mom might have told my dad. I think my sister might have known.
Okay.
But yeah, it was like upwards of 8 to 10 people at the table, so it was just a whole bunch, and then it just was silent because I was expecting her, and like everyone was watching her eat this chocolate.
Yeah, like, will you marry me? But it was a piece of chocolate instead. Yeah, there was no ring. Wow, that's pretty funny.
And so so I was like, all right, so the proposal hadn't happened yet, so it was just like I'd given her a random candy at the end of dinner. I was like, okay, all right, let's go home, guys. And so we went home, and then everyone was sitting around just the couch area, and then I was like, okay, guys. It was like Natalie was just sitting right there, and I was like, hey, you want another candy? here's an oddly shaped ball of candy. You want this? And then she's like, okay, sure. And she opened it up, and she's like, oh. And I was like, well. And it's like, just like sort of they assumed like asking. Yeah. And she was like, no. Like she just to joke with me. She's like, I don't think so. Well, then she's like, oh, well, yeah, you know. And so I guess for a proposal to go bad, it went bad in a good way because it ended up being really good in the end. But
yeah,
it's not as like, oh, that's so cute kind of situations like people get, like getting on the knee or anything. It was just like, oh, I can't believe I've messed this up. Here's this candy. You just open it up and please say yes. Like, I was just so upset that it didn't go the way I wanted to.
But she did. And
she was so great about it.
I think it's working out great, right?
Oh, man, yeah. It was the best.
All right, last question,
Sorry.
Which I think some people get stumped on, but you're so creative, you're going to come up with a great answer. Describe yourself in 3 words.
I knew this question was coming.
Yeah, you did.
Oh, man. Okay, let me think. I don't know. Some of the words seem like it's more egotistical, but I'll say them. Why not? I think I'm a little compassionate, honest. Mm-hmm. I'm thinking of like all the Boy Scout motto things because there's a lot in there that I relate to. But
it needs to be genuine. You can't copy from the Boy Scouts.
No, I'm not. Let's see. Humble. Yeah.
Yes. I would agree.
In a little way, I guess.
All right, Lucy, that concludes our interview. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.